All right, let's dive into a book that's, well, it's pretty controversial. We're talking about Robert Greene's The Art of Seduction. And look, this is not your typical romance guide. Forget the flowers and chocolates. This book is all about power, about strategy, and really the subtle art of getting exactly what you want.
So the book kicks off with this quote from Nietzsche. And wow, it really sets the stage, doesn't it? Whatever is done from love always occurs beyond good and evil. Greene is basically signaling to us right from page 1, hey, put your moral compass away for a second. We're not playing in the world of right and wrong anymore. This is about a force of nature, a game with its own very different set of rules.
Which brings us to the big question, right? Is seduction this beautiful game of love, or is it something else entirely, a weapon of power? Well, for Robert Greene, there's absolutely no debate. He says it's the ultimate form of influence, and we're going to break down exactly what he means by that.
Okay, so let's get to the heart of it. Seduction as a weapon. Now, I want you to just forget everything you think you know about romance. The sweet talk, the grand gestures. Greene reframes the whole thing. He sees seduction as this subtle art of war, perfectly designed for our complex modern world.
So what does he mean by that? Well, think about it. We live in a world where you can't just use brute force to get your way anymore. So according to Greene, seduction becomes the ultimate power move. It's not about taking, it's about making people want to give you what you want. Even better, they'll think it was their idea in the first place.
But why are we so susceptible to this? I mean, why does it even work? The book's core psychological argument is, well, that we're all a little bit bored with our lives. You know, we secretly crave some drama, some fantasy, something to shake up our routine. A master seducer understands this. They don't force their way in. They just offer an escape hatch that deep down you were already looking for.
Okay, so how does one actually do this? Greene's answer is what he calls the seductive archetypes. Think of them as characters you can play, roles you can step into to wield this kind of power. Let's jump into a couple of the most famous ones.
First, we have the Siren. The Siren is all about ultimate fantasy and, well, dangerous pleasure. Their symbol is water, which is perfect, right? They're fluid, always moving, impossible to grasp or control. They basically represent an escape from the 9-to-5, a promise of adventure that is just intoxicating, especially for people who feel trapped in their own lives.
And who is the ultimate siren? You guessed it, Marilyn Monroe. Greene uses her as the perfect example. There's this amazing story about her acting coach saying she gave off these sex vibrations without even trying. And that's the key. The siren's power feels effortless, almost innocent. It doesn't come across as a strategy. It feels like a genuine, irresistible force of nature. All right, so if the siren's power is all about presence and physicality, the rake is a whole different beast. The rake's primary weapon? Language. Words. They are masters of saying exactly the right thing to stir up all those feelings you keep hidden away. And here's the genius part. Their bad reputation actually works for them. They seem like these hopeless slaves to passion, which makes them appear non-threatening. It's the perfect disguise.
For a real-life example, look no further than the Duc de Richelieu. This guy, at only 15 years old, he had the entire French court wrapped around his finger. He was charming, he was bold, and apparently his hands wandered. But because everyone saw him as this creature of pure pleasure, nothing could stop him. Women weren't afraid of him. They were lining up for a chance.
Okay, so we've met some of the key players, the archetypes. Now let's get into the strategy, the playbook. And I gotta warn you, this is where things start to get a little dark.
So get this. The book says the biggest mistake you can make in seduction is being too nice. I know, it sounds crazy, right? But think about it. Constant kindness is predictable, and predictable is boring. To really truly get someone hooked, Greene argues you need to create tension, an emotional roller coaster, because the highs only feel amazing when you've experienced the lows.
So here's the 4-step recipe for that roller coaster. Step 1, you overwhelm them with kindness and attention. Just pour it on. Step 2, you pull it all away. You inflict some calculated pain. Go cold, be distant, create insecurity. Step 3, you might even disappear for a while. And then step 4, you come back, all sweet and loving. That feeling of relief they get, it's intense, and it makes them completely dependent on you.
The master of this game? Cleopatra. She gave Mark Antony everything he could ever want. Parties, gambling, total indulgence. But she was also fiercely independent.
and that drove him crazy. He was obsessed with trying to tame her. And after he left her for 3 whole years to marry someone else, that absence was the ultimate pain. When he finally came crawling back, he wasn't her partner. He was her slave.
The symbol for this whole idea is Cupid's arrow. And it's perfect. Think about it. An arrow creates a wound. It hurts. Greene says desire isn't awakened by comfort. It's awakened by that wound. You create a pain, an ache, a feeling that something is missing in their life, and then you present yourself as the only one who can make it better. You become both the poison and the antidote.
Now, you might be sitting there thinking, okay, this is all fascinating for, personal relationships, but what about the real world? Well, Greene argues these same exact principles apply on a massive scale. To politics, to marketing, to social movements, this is where seduction goes from one-on-one to one-on-a-million.
He calls this soft seduction, basically how to sell anything to the masses. And it's not about facts and figures. It's about appealing to our deepest emotions, our hopes, our fears. Whether it's selling a smartphone or a political idea, it's all about mass persuasion. And once you see it, you'll see it everywhere.
And to understand this, we need to meet one more archetype, the charmer. Now, the charmer is different. They're not the overtly sexual siren or the word-slinging rake. Their magic is purely social. A charmer's entire goal is to make you feel like the most interesting person in the room. They barely talk about themselves at all. It's all about you.
So how do they do it? What's the secret sauce? Simple. They become a mirror. They listen so carefully to you, to your values, your tastes, what you secretly want, and then they reflect it all back at you. It is one of the most powerful forms of validation you can experience. You feel totally and completely seen. And that's why the symbol for the charmer is the mirror. Because when you look at them, you don't really see them, you see a perfect, idealized version of yourself. And let's be honest, we are all a little in love with our own reflection. It's hypnotic. You're so busy admiring yourself that you never stop to wonder who's actually holding the mirror.
So, that brings us full circle, back to a really tricky question. If Greene is right, if we all, on some level, want to be seduced out of our boring lives, then what does that make the seducer? Are they a heartless manipulator? Or are they just a master artist, giving us the fantasy we were all secretly asking for? I'll let you decide. That's the provocative question at the very heart of the art of seduction.